What's up YouTube, Toasty here. Today I'm bringing you an absolute abomination of a deck. This deck is Dogmatika Yosenju. Now Dogmatika probably needs no introduction. It's a super meta, super relevant deck right now, but Yosenju is a bit more of a rogue strategy. Now Yosenjus are focused on normal summoning a whole bunch of times to get your effects off, and then during the end phase they all bounce back to the hand, and ultimately they bring out their boss monsters, which are pendulum monsters. So it's pretty cool, it's a pretty weird archetype, I really enjoy it. And the idea behind this deck is using the meta strategy in Dogmatika to prop up the non-meta strategy in Yosenjus. Hopefully you like what you see. If you do like what you see, make sure to like and subscribe so that I can bring you more Yu-Gi-Oh content. Let's get right on into the deck profile. So let's start things off with the Dogmatika portion of the deck. So we're running 2 Ecclesia. This is sort of the starter, the searcher of Dogmatika. Absolutely crazy card. Lets you search all the Dogmatika stuff. It's just great. The 1 Fleur-de-Lis, special summon it for pretty much for free by banishing an extra deck monster, which is super easy with this deck. And then you get that spot negate and juicing attack. I mean, just crazy card. Absolutely awesome. You've got the 1 Maximus. This is a guy that's going to let you send 2 guys from your extra deck to the grave, which is going to be really, really essential for getting off some of your opening combos for the sort of Dogmatika Shadal strategy. 3 of the Nadir Servant. Now, this card is absolutely essential. This is a 1-card El Shadal Winda, which Winda is able to lock your opponent out of special summoning. So it's a bit of a longer combo. If you're interested in that, I suggest you look up a video where you Google search it. It's a little bit longer combo. I'm not going to explain it here, but you open with this card and just trust me, it's a really bad day for your opponent. So again, if you're interested in that longer combo, you can go ahead and look that up. We've got 2 of the Dogmatika Punishment. I only run 2 because it's searchable by Ecclesia, so it's not too hard to get into. This card is just crazy. Blow up a monster, send the Elder Entity, and you blow up another card. I mean, absolutely great. Then you've got the Shadal Schism. This is the fusion card that allows you to go into Winda. Again, if you're interested in that 1-card Wombo combo, I suggest you go look it up. Absolutely insane and really helps this deck out. So then we've got one of the Chaos Ancient Gear Giant, blah, 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 long name. And he's just a big attacker to send off of your Dogmatika Punishment so you can blow up bigger monsters. Then you've got your Shadals, you've got your Construct, your Apkallone, and your Winda. This is, again, just for getting out the Winda to lock your opponent out of special summoning. And then the 1 Titaniclad. This is when it's sent to from the extra deck to the graveyard, you get a search. So you can search any of your Dogmatika stuff, which is pretty cool. And then, again, I'll just explain. Winda must first be fusion summoned, cannot be destroyed by opponent's card effects. Each player can only special summon monsters once per turn while this card is face up on the field. This is going to be like a huge floodgate for the deck. I mean, this is just crazy. This is really going to give your opponent a hard time. And I'll explain some like little interesting tidbit once I move on into the Yosenju portion of the deck. And then finally we have 2 of the Elder Entities. I mean, again, you've probably seen this before. When it's sent to the graveyard, you can blow something up. It basically makes your Dogmatika Punishment a +1. So that's absolutely crazy. And that's going to wrap it up for the Dogmatika portion of the deck. Alright, so now let's look into the Yosenju portion of the main deck. So first off, we've got my Yosenju Dieback. This is one of the boss monsters of the Yosenjus. So he's a 3k attacker. When he's pendulum summoned, he gets to bounce 2 cards on the field. Absolutely crazy. The whole goal is bringing this guy out and just bouncing stuff and then just dunking on your opponent. He's awesome. I absolutely love him. You just run him as a 1-of. Then we have 3 of my Yosenju Hitot. So he's great because he's a pendulum scale 3, and he can make any Yosenju Pendulum card becomes scale 11, including himself. So you open with 2 of these guys and you've got scales, which is just great. So running him as a 3-of, because he's great if you open him. He's usually okay if you draw into him, so running 3 of him. And then we get into the smaller Yosenju monsters. So they all have the effect that during the end phase, if they were normal summoned, they return back to your hand, which is going to be pretty critical for a couple of things. And then they're just great because you normal summon them all out, and then during the end phase, they come back to your hand. So then they're not getting destroyed by your opponent. They're not getting banished. They're not getting messed with. They just come safely back to your hand. So first of all, we have Yosenju, 3. So the Yosenju commas have the effect that when they're normal summoned, immediately after, you can normal summon again. So typically what you do is you normal summon, normal summon, normal summon a whole bunch of times, sort of like in a chain. Then during the end phase, they all come back. And then the next turn, they all go down, and then they come back. So it's a pretty cool strategy. So this guy, when another Yosenju inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you get to search, which is pretty awesome. Lets you search any of your other little Yosenju guys. Then we have Yosenju, 2. So this guy, he can attack directly, but if he does so, he inflicts half damage, which that's awesome because he inflicts damage, which triggers this guy searching. So these two are kind of best friends. But this guy, you don't really want to draw into him. He's a little bit better if you're able to search him off of tanky. So opening him is okay, but not necessarily the best thing. And he is searchable, so I only run him as a 2-of. He can get a little bit cloggy. I do run 3 of the Yosenju, 1. This guy is great. He just straight up gets to target 1 face-up card your opponent controls, return it to the hand. So just a free bounce. I mean, that's just awesome. And then finally, we have 3 of the Yosenju Sabu. So this guy is another one of your searchers. When he's normal summoned, you get to add a Yosenju pendulum monster to your hand, which this is great. You get to add whatever scale you're missing. You get to add, you know, more of the boss monsters to drop them on your opponent's head. I mean, this guy is awesome. You just want to constantly be normal summoning this guy to get off his effect. And then we run 1 of the Yosenju L and Yosenju R. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. So the L is a scale 3, the R is a scale 5, but the R can make itself scale 11 if you so choose, which is awesome because that allows you to pendulum summon out your bigger guys. And then the L also has a little extra pendulum effect. If a Yosenju monster you control would be destroyed by battle or by card effect, you can destroy this card instead. That does become relevant sometimes if you've pendulum summoned all your guys out and then someone flips up like, I don't know, a Dogmatica punishment or something. This guy can help to protect one of your monsters, which is pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. And then we run 3 of the Yosenju Orochi Channeling. So this card has 2 effects, but you need to control no monsters, which is usually easy enough because, like I said, during the end phase, all these guys bounce. So what this card does is you get to search a level 5 or higher Yosenju, your boss monsters, or you get to place your L and R directly from your deck, but they're destroyed during your opponent's next end phase. So this card is just crazy. It's super flexible, super awesome. It either searches or gives you free scales, which is just crazy. You have to make sure you know you control no monsters, so sometimes that can conflict with the whole Dogmatica stuff occasionally. I wasn't really having that problem too often, because usually either I would open this card and use it first, or my whole board would be cleared by some superior opponent anyway by the time I drew into it, and then it would become active, so usually not too big of a deal. And then we've got 1 called By the Grave. I mean, this card's just easy, no explanation. This is just your anti-hand trap card. And then we run 3 Fire Formation Tenkies. This card, I mean, it's Beast Warrior deck, so it's obligatory you run 3 of this. Search any Yosenju that you don't have. I mean, what else is there to be said? So at some point, you might have asked yourself, Toasty, why Yosenju Dogmatica? Like, that's just such a weird pairing. Well, there's 2 big reasons why. The first reason why is because of El Shaddai Winda. Specifically, she says each player can only special summon monsters once per turn while it's face up on the field. Your Yosenjus, they don't really special summon. Their effect normal summons immediately after normal summoning. So if you have Winda on field, you're still free to normal summon as much as you want. So that's likely gonna screw up your opponent much more than it's gonna screw you up because you just normal summon right on through it. The second reason is because the Dogmaticas lock you out of the extra deck, a lot of the Yosenjus also lock you out of your extra deck. Hitaught prevents you from special summoning anything except Yosenjus when you use his scale modulation. Same thing with the Orochi Channeling. This also locks you into Yosenju monsters. So essentially, Dogmatica locking you out of the extra deck, Yosenjus also do that. So because they're both kind of having the same cost, that like really helps to wash it down and make it just not so bad, is you just don't use the extra deck anyway. So that was my 2 main reasons for pairing these 2 archetypes together, which I just think is the funniest thing. I think it's just a really cool combo, and yeah, I just have a lot of fun with it. Now finally, to finish up the main deck, you've got 6 free spots here. This can be anything. This deck does pretty good with trap cards. It does good with hand traps because every deck does good with hand traps. So I ended up running 3 Skullmeister and 3 Ash. I mean, you can basically put whatever you want. Solemn Strike is a great card. Torrential Tribute's an interesting card because Torrential Tribute nukes all monsters on the board, and since your Yosenjus are constantly bouncing, it's pretty easy to get them to dodge out of the way of your Torrential Tribute. Again, that kind of clashes with the Dogmatica stuff because those guys are going to kind of stick around on board. You don't want to Torrential Tribute your Winda, because that would just be dumb. So I ended up putting hand traps in here, but again, this is a pretty open slot. Play whatever you want or whatever you can afford. And then finally, to round things off, you've got the rest of the extra deck. Honestly, this deck doesn't really do a lot of extra deck usage. You're mostly just going to be sending off those fusion guys with your Dogmaticas. Your Dogmaticas lock you out of the extra deck anyway. You can kind of throw whatever you want in there. You can put some generic links. Exciton Knight is still a great card. I mean, some people, you know, it seems like Zeus is kind of just a better Exciton Knight, but I still like it. It's a little bit quicker. It can be a little bit more reliable than Zeus, so I still like running Exciton Knight. Baguska can be interesting to drop turn 1 and just negate some stuff. Tornado Dragon actually does come up. I just find sometimes you've just got that one pesky back row you can't deal with. Tiger King is great. When he's summoned, you get to set Tenki from your deck. So sometimes I end up opening this if I've got 2 Yosenjus I don't really want. Go into this guy, search your fire formation to then search the Yosenju you need. So this guy comes up, and then again, just any like rank 4s or links that you want. Then finally Zeus, if you can afford that sort of thing. I imagine if you've got a Dogmatica engine lying around, you can probably afford Zeus. I know I can't afford Zeus, but you know, this is online Yu-Gi-Oh, so I can play whatever expensive cards I want. So hey, run 15 Zeus for all I care. And that is going to round things off for this deck profile. So kind of a fun deck, an interesting thing, combining the Dogmaticas with the Yosenjus to make it a little bit more consistent to get the Yosenjus out on the board. So it's pretty funny. I have a lot of fun with it, using it here on EDOPro. So hopefully you also get some enjoyment out of using it. Maybe you can find some interesting techs or some interesting ways to improve it. So I hope you liked what you saw. Make sure to like and subscribe for more Yu-Gi-Oh content, and I'll see you guys in the next one.